a button were pressed, war were
Welcome
declared.
back. Welcome back to Exalted Essence, Crimes of Nature. Last time, the battle against the Four Fiends and the stolen War Strider that had been turned into Necrotech. The crew valiantly rallied basically all of their options in the face of immense odds, facing against the corrupted Four Elementals and the War Strider that had been the defiled body of a wood dragon. And through a lot of clever maneuvering, some not understanding what you're doing, but this probably feels good energy, and who knows what happens when we throw this down the gullet of the War Strider. It'll be fine. Oh, ooh, wow, that's certainly doing something. The elementals have been exorcised. The corruption and their ties to the elemental cycle of the underworld have been broken, and they have been able to either dissolve back into the background of essence of creation, or just reincarnate. It's unclear which, but whatever it is, they're not going to be coming back as what they were. And maybe Yang threw a couple of thousand seeds of a parasitic orchid that feeds upon essence and channels it into different forms down the gullet of a War Strider directly into its essence reactor, and rewoke the wood element part of the dead body inside of it to create a zombified wood dragon elemental that busted out of the soul steel encasing it was in and decided to choose violence against everything around it as trying to figure out what the hell happened. It's probably gonna be okay.
Wonder who did that.
So, the hearth is now left in the barrens to the northeast/east of the manse, watching the War Strider trundle away down towards the south, towards the swarms of hungry ghosts and the skeleton army, where the armies for backup are supposed to be approaching from. And just, it is back to being an eerily silent, aside from the receding noises of the War Strider / I guess that's an elemental now, maybe still a War Strider. Unclear what the nomenclature of that thing is now. It is a moment of catching your breath and realizing what the hell just happened. And Obsidian, did you just grab that thing by the mouth and fucking sumo slam it? That was awesome.
Milan and Shirin are just still posting gifs and emotes in the Hearthnet chat.
Back and forth to each other as she's back at the boat, just
Firm nodding, scratching chin.
So are we going to do anything about that turtle?
Yes,
Yes.
we should.
Probably.
We need only loiter here, long enough for Angler's wounds to settle. Then...
I'm healing already, let's go.
Or, you know what, so just a situation check here. Do we have, like, can we see what's going on at the boat blockade?
It's on the horizon, you can't really see it directly.
But we can still, there's still vague, low fight
Yeah.
noises coming from over there. We have something
There is low-grade muffled sounds of violence from that direction, but it seems to be in a manageable state right now.
Because one of the suggestions I would toss in here, if we weren't in good contact, was for somebody to pop back over, make sure things are still good, give them the good news, and then zoop by.
We do have contact with Shirin.
Yeah, Milan, out of character with everybody's approval, but in character not actually having mentioned it quite yet, got Shireen into the Hearth's communications network without thinking about it.
Understandable.
So Shireen has gotten an update of what has gone on and presumably is passing that on.
Shireen has been backdoored into the hearth.
Mhm.
Is this the first we know of it?
Oh, Milan hasn't mentioned it yet.
Yeah, I know you haven't mentioned it, but this is the first time that the rest of us know about it, correct?
Yeah, I mean, this would be on. This is not a direct one-to-one communication. You would notice that. Hey, hang on. There's there's another ping on the radar in that direction, and that sounds like Shireen. Basically, Shireen is not a member of your hearth in terms of like full mechanics, but has been included on the group DM.
Take care of that later. Okay.
Yes, for one. These, with the petrified heart from the dust elemental and the now probably like wrapped and placed in small travel coffin spine from the
Yeah.
pyre elemental, should be delivered into the care of the reserves, that they may be appropriately guarded and studied, and most pressingly not immediately reacquired by the enemy and wielded against us in some manner. And ultimately, on a similar note, that looking at the the Gunstrider, which is gradually stomping away, continuing to hoot, and
Yeah, you were looking at the back end of it continually receding into the horizon, just still screaming.
which, as far as I could determine, seems to have been restored to some degree of life, lucidity, wakefulness. We should know more, and be certain of to what degree it might feel grateful for us having caused this, or regretful for having had it occur, in which case, offer it appropriate release once it is done, whatever good it will accomplish this night. All surprisingly, if the five of us were able to overturn it in the first place, some number of the assembled host may be able to do the same, and we should take care of this.
I'll,
The host is getting kind of situated and ready to take flight again.
I'll get the air cloud going for the less speedy members of the hearth.
Right? So, current plan is to pursue the elemental as it goes south. Any other updates, or, well, would you sequester the body bits first or follow first?
If there is not immediate sign of danger around, the Strider Repose would carry on past the group, since he can get into full flight and just kind of bypass
Yeah,
the battlefield.
there is not any sort of immediate danger. Any of the local undead that have gotten close immediately regret their entire decisions and everything that have led them up to this point very quickly. So, okay, so
Yeah,
we
so
will have group pursue, and you are heading towards, I presume, the Vigils detachment if you can find it.
yes.
All right, roll me a Fortitude Navigate roll.
Can I give an assistance on that?
Sure, if you can justify.
What do you think? I mean, I'm sure Yang could probably help in some way, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, what would I roll for that to assist?
That would be, in your case, probably Finesse Navigate. Jesus H. Um, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, you get 9 extra dice or bonus.
Just go ahead and double my pool off of well-chosen timely
And-
remarks about the weather.
All right, so at the moment of repose, trying to math this out in an interesting way, Obsidian would, in his tired and still on fire state, just say, repose, you do Earth stuff. Just make the fastest way is a direct line. Just Earth your way there.
Alright, and you can roll one more before dice cap happens.
Yes.
Yeah, so 3, 6.
So that's 9
Okay.
total?
Yeah, okay. So that does make you think about something in the sense of both Yang just mumbling about the weather and the local area and scouting that had been done earlier. You don't necessarily have to fly the whole way. You could just, like, some of these mountains, you could probably just go straight through them. If they are, you know, decayed and crumbling and dusty, you could just punch through the side of one and not only expedite your path, but also be much harder to observe. If you fly over the entire enemy army, that could be a problem. If you just go through a fucking wall, then, you know. So,
He
that
was
is...
thinking more like a rock that finally got him into the air in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Fly low, fly fast.
Fly low, fly fast, and if you encounter rocks with a lower Mohs rating than yours, tell them who's boss.
Headbutt rocks to establish dominance.
Yes. So
Dirt can be flown through.
you just kind of tunnel a very small mountain pass through the bottom and like through one that was already kind of there, but like you just burrow a straight line through an easy access point. And at that point, when you are able to go through and skirt around having scouts see you or having the hungry ghosts see you, you can see from your vantage point in the air two major things. One is the banners and the very large assembled host of the Vigil and its allies that it is able to call upon for this. About exactly on time, and at the head of it, you can definitely see Azar, flaring Anima as a deliberate, you know, banner leader, as well as just sports. She's probably had some sports on the way here and is still glowing. You can also see Praise and her lieutenants up near the front and personally leading. So it looks like basically the entire family is here for this one. Maybe there are the primary non-combatants and, you know, some insurance for like, okay, we can't all get wiped out here if this goes horribly. But no, really, like, all the cards are on the table here, it appears. And the second thing you see when you turn to the west is a very confused-looking motley host surrounding a very, very well-regimented group of a couple of hundred people that are flying banners of House Catholic. It is just a very large kind of impromptu let's get 'em gang of looks like the ancestry of the Northfolk are following up on their promises, as well as just a bunch of the other local ghosts that had been told about what was going on and decided to throw a punch over it rather than do anything else. And in the distance, behind the banners of House Catholic, and very dimly, you can see teal flames, and if you strain your ears, you can almost hear the hooting and hollering of the skeleton boat crew. Just yelling, improvised, and kind of profane sailing songs and, you know, marching songs.
They have assembled a cannon out of bones and are firing femurs into the skeleton warriors.
So it does look like there is the timetable for the two parties is on task. Give me a
Sorry,
quick.
I just need to say I am now imagining a cannons made of bones firing cannonballs made of bones.
Oh, no, we'll get there.
Just orbs of bones.
Sphere of bone.
Borb. Um. Give me a finesse awareness roll. Just as your vantage point as you are going towards the army.
As always, can I choose to opt out of this
No,
roll?
this is specifically and only for repose.
Okay.
5.
Alright. It is very hard to see. But you are able to pick out on the horizon up along the sides of the West Hand Mountain two figures making their own way quietly through the mountain pass, actually. And you can almost guarantee, even without a good look at them, that's probably Sybil and Guan going up on their own way to flank. And you are also able to see, kind of separate from the Vigil's army, but not too far away, not marching in regiment, but kind of as an outrider. Bismuth is just in full combat regalia, heavy furs and leathers, and you're not sure what's more frightening. The way he's standing and the way he's holding his fists, or the entire fucking club on his back. It is something between a kanabo and literally just a tree that he whittled down a bit.
Kind of surprised he has a weapon. Does bear need with a stick?
Actually, give me a force close combat roll to evaluate him.
Also 5.
So, in your family's history of studying the martial styles of others, especially, the other chosen, that they show up in some of their favorite styles, one of them that has come up as an occasional choice of your family, and a much more common choice of others that you have run into, is a style that is known for its ability to decimate large amounts of lesser opponents, called the White Reaper form. And the way he's carrying that thing is that I don't need this, I just need a bigger reach. And it is very likely that the moment he gets into a serious encounter with a solo opponent, he's just going to throw that thing away. That's there so he can just play a Muso game with everybody in the way of him and an actual opponent he cares about. So mechanically, he has White
Makes
Reaper
sense.
style.
As you do.
So you are able to descend upon army if you wish, or take other action.
Well, this is a literal once in a lifetime situation for so
Yeah,
give
going
me
to,
where my boys are.
They are not on this tactical map yet. Repose is able to see them on the approach because Repose has flown off the map. They are close though.
All right, where are we right now?
1 sec, I will actually move the token from the boat to about here, I would say you would be, if you're following Turtle.
Okay. What direction are my boys in?
Let me get the snap corner. This direction, past the mountains, coming up along this way toward the road. And the Vigil is coming up from this way.
All right. We have warriors here and ghosts.
Yeah, hungry ghosts. The
Okay.
low. Yeah, no.
Remind me what this is.
That
There
is
is
the
a small
fortress that the Fae stopped at and had their skeleton friend that they drafted and gave a character to, and then followed up on. There were some commanding officers that looked like they were relatively old ghosts from war. But from the reports, it doesn't seem like something that would be a huge threat to your hearth. To mortal soldiers, absolutely. To lesser seasoned people in mass, yeah, sure. To you guys, not anymore.
Okay. One last question about them. About those skeletal warriors. Not the skeletal warriors here. The skeletal warriors here.
Mhm.
Are they definitely 100% under Weaver's control?
They're under his alliance and his command. It is unclear how much of that is compelled by magic and how much of that is compelled by incentives and or I don't want to get murdered.
Okay. Cool. I'm gonna go recruit those skeletons.
All right, so yeah, we'll follow up on that one after Repose has the scene. We'll
right,
have you
so-
guys split off. Would you split off on your own to do that, or would you continue following Warstrider? Would everybody go do that? That's an open question.
I think at this point, I'm not moving at the speed of the War Strider. I'm hopped up on Essence. I'm moving faster. I'm getting ahead of it.
All right, yeah, you're probably this is a fire aspect thing to do, to just get hopped up on an idea and an impulse and an emotion of my boys are here. Let's go get them. And then just,
at the response from that is where I was going with this.
Yeah.
Yes, at the response from Repose of, "Hey, your boys are here." my boys.
my boys. It's just the essence just grabs you by the brainstem, and by the time the rest of the hearth looks over, you're already 100 yards downhill.
And also, as the person that was burning the most essence, I don't remember when I ended the last encounter at. I remember I was at 2 at one point. I might have.
Let me look at the sheet over on the other side. You were at 4 of
Okay.
12. Yeah.
Mhm. Do give me a time scale for what is passing. That way I know.
I will let you know when you regenerate motes.
Yes.
Because again, this is important. I'm going to be having you track that.
Yes. All right. But yeah, so Propose has the thing to do.
So Repose just kind of slams down onto the ground in front of the army. Dust clears and settles, and he is just standing there, very, very alert, just looking side on, just kind of high.
Azar looks him up and down, shouldering the Guandao. There's less blood on you than I thought there would be. Don't know if I'm impressed or disappointed considering the context.
Loading a moment, thinking about it, the response from Repose would like immediately
Yeah.
snap up though, of like, oh no, Anglo dealt with the blood.
She just kind of cracks a smirk at that one. I see. So you did find them.
Got my hands on, and he is then abruptly just like shuffling up very excitedly before like bringing himself to a halt at like exactly proper for procedure, polite distance to do formal nods and shuffling and invoking of words before then.
Formal greetings to
Immediately-
praise to Azar, etc.
Yes, and then immediately after finishing the script of that, resuming just excited youth sliding forward with treasure.
Praise just actually smiles and deliberately is the first one to step within the boundaries of like disrespectful, but she is the one who comes in closer, like, all right, let's see what you got.
And proudly presents the urn and the small coffin, just tangible remains.
Azar's eyebrows go all the way up as Praise just has a quietly proud smile.
The opportunity arose. I made the attempt, and Aunt Nora was right.
Well, I have about 10 years of grave goods to back up on that one then, as our mother mutters to herself.
They can still, in a manner, be subjected to transmutation. They have paths by which to achieve change.
So they're not completely beyond reversion, Praise says to herself, thinking slowly. Which means it's not a complete transmutation of their essence, or if it is, that something innate to the process being used can be reversed as a fundamental aspect of how they are.
There may exist a road by which they may be naturalized and returned to the world, or that through them, the world may better know its shadow. There's just escalating, excited
Praise's
buzzing.
smile. You have never seen your ancestor smile. You very rarely see her smile noticeably. You have never seen her smile this wide. While Azar is just kind of like visibly having to download emotional responses to this, just like, but what? It is a positive sort of like, what the, She
Concerns for later.
She
For
shakes her head.
now, we have things to do. Rose like visibly restraining himself against. I would love to scholar this right open and explore its secrets, but one thing at a time.
Izar nods. Turns her head and gives some commands to the lieutenants, who immediately rush back into the mass of the army, where one of the elements of the army and their formations is that a lot of the external formations is the best way I could describe it militarily, if you're familiar with old formations, is it's kind of like a pike square, or it's kind of like a tercio square, except on the inside of it being guns, it's reliquaries, and it is things on palanquins of the actual physical remains of the ghosts, so they can turbocharge themselves and get extremely swole and go on a rampage. So the armies are in large part the less combat capable, but still, up to the standards of the Vigil army, and on the inside is the reliquaries and the remains of the saints, the heroes, the combat, the warriors, etc.
This is a day to bring out at least one fetter.
Yeah. So they immediately just take the stone and the spine and a little vial of the water and take it back to one of the most well-guarded reliquaries, not Praise's, but probably one of her lieutenants directly, and just very quickly pop it open and then get it in there and lock it back up to prevent the excess essence from just blasting out.
And then we can just kind of... Well, if you have an immediate response, but I think now we, fade forward of the news gets delivered.
Yeah, that basically would be filled in of her. For her initial question was like, so how Praises would be like, so what did you do to do that? But that could be like, fast forward.
Yes, discussion of techniques, review of
just
the
like,
lore.
and I will mention there is one question that Azar comes up with very quickly of, okay, so is there still violence involved? Is there still room for sports in this? Just the snap response of like, I am thrilled that this is possible, but sports? Come on, I was here for sports. Don't do this to me.
Well, I did have to throw a door at one of them.
Yeah. Upon hearing what is actually necessary to weaken them physically
They
and
were still dragons, Auntie.
yeah, physically and psychologically enough to be willing to be exercised, that is enough for her for now.
Oh no, I just realized the amount of psychological damage I did to air.
Yes! That's why you
yep.
one-shot it, is that you killed it the same way, in the same humiliating way! It had no resistance to the exorcism, it just got no-scoped by a door again, it just laid there and was like, fuck it. The rest of them are punching the clock, I'm done. Whatever. So, meanwhile, in very good ideas, Obsidian is sprinting down the lane, fast enough to leave a trail of fire directly towards an unarmed encampment. Roll me a force presence roll on your approach. This is to make an impression if you have any charms that can modify that.
Newbie?
Minma?
I was muted for a while.
Oops. Sorry.
I was forgetting that I was keeping myself muted due to
Yeah. You know, winter stuff.
winter cough.
Mhm.
Gets the best of us. Anyway, the question of does Obsidian have presence charms?
Does Obsidian have social abilities? It is a mystery.
Hold up, I think I got this one recently. Alright, that one is for later.
Well, that's ominous. I remember most of your recent purchases, and still that statement is ominous.
Okay. How close am I to the fortress?
You are on an approach of running your butt cheeks off, so as close as you need to be.
Okay. Here's the problem with me as a character playing it. I came into the session going, okay, I can't do too much stupid shit. I'm kind of low on resources. Immediately, okay, but what if I
gotta do
spend one
stupid
mote for
shit.
something funny, though?
I mean, that's just fire aspect shaking hands with air aspect.
You just picked up and threw a dragon turtle. You can do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah, man.
Anyway, I'm spending one mote as I am going to jump from this sprinting tear at the fortress and use battalion breaking shout.
All right. 1 second.
I finally got to use this charm.
Let me just double check. I know generally what it does, but I want to look exactly what it does.
Yeah, let me read out loud for you.
Yeah.
Spend one mote, roll force plus war or presence. Guess what? It's a 10 either way.
Yeah.
Against a battle group's resolve. Success lowers their effective drill by 1 or by 2 if 3 or more extra successes are rolled. The penalty lasts until the commander takes a difficulty 5 war or presence based action to restore order.
Right. And yeah, then the solar one for increased. Yeah, no, roll it with a stunt. You go ahead and roll with the stunt.
Okay. As Obsidian is flying through the air, what's good?
Yeah, so like just cut to the skeletons on the ramparts and on the walkways of the fortress, just kind of staring into space or polishing their weapons or just kind of going through the motions, and then there is just this rumbling on the horizon and this rising heat and light as they turn around. They look to each other like, what is that? Turn, look, and it just jumps up and starts flying forward, and even the mindless skeletons sit there for a couple of seconds before they get the impulse from their commanders to be like, "Duck, you idiots!"
Anyway, I hope this is good. I'll take a 6.
So, yeah, let me double check their resolve, because I know you break it. I don't know if it's by 3. I got the stats of their battle groups around here somewhere. And it lowers their drill by how much?
Lowers the drill by 1 for a normal success, 2 if extra.
Alright. Ordinarily, I would say this is mostly mindless undead that cannot feel fear. However, you are also impacting the very can-think undead, the war ghosts that are leading this. So, they go from veteran to poor. So they have basically gone from pretty well-trained military to unruly mob immediately.
And now, as a combo action, because I can't stop, what do you mean you can't find... hold up. I love when you look for a charm and it's like, yeah, I know that one, and it brings you to only one location that says CX.
Yeah, no. That manuscripts do that.
Okay. Oh, you know why? This thing is weird with searching sometimes. Anyway, there we go. I found it. Okay. Obsidian spends another moat for worshipful lackey acquisition.
I knew it!
As he lands there, and they're panicking. Oh no, the dragons are here! Oh god! I'm just, hey! Points at the Strider. See that? That's not under your control anymore. That's under our control. He points at the Doomhouse. See that? We're gonna fuck that up. You can either go against us, or you can help us.
All of the undead are just completely stock still as they are evaluating what has just happened in the past 15 seconds. Until a skeleton approaches from the outskirts of just the mob of the mindless undead, holding its own head under its arm that has a bizarre kind of hammer mark on the top of it, before just giving you a thumbs up. The rest of the war ghosts look at it, then look at you, and they just go, "Lead the way, sir."
Dope. Obsidian would pull out a Catholic flag and hand it to them and say, our allies are coming from the south. Wave this flag as you approach them. And, it should be fine.
There's a visible wanting to question of should, but, nah. Big man, fire. Turtle, help. Alright, so you have dismantled the armed checkpoint, and they are nowhere near as effective as they would be if they were not terrified and under duress, but you do now have an additional size 2 poor drill battle group.
And I'm good for about an hour.
While the rest of us are on our way down, I'm guessing we're on the cloud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Angler's going to be keeping an eye on that being that's been slowly following us in the clouds or whatever at the ceiling of the thing. How are we doing on that?
That's a
The
good
shadowy
question.
being?
Good question. Finesse awareness, please.
Yeah, okay. Hold on. Do I have that down? I forget which charms are still in this one or not. I don't think that the charm that looking through shadows and water and crap is still around. So let me just double check.
It may be in a genericized form.
I'm pretty sure it's not here, so that's fine. Nope. Okay, I'm just gonna use that then. As soon as I remember how to spell. Seven successes.
You're not sure what you're seeing up there? In fact, get the distinct impression that your brain is not letting you see what's up there, but it doesn't seem to be doing too much. It just seems to be. How to put this? You know how Jimbus just doesn't really know or pay attention to anything in the environment unless it is making a very loud and direct demand for acknowledgement from its presence? That's the feeling of whatever the hell is up there that you are getting, but very much more you don't want it to be annoyed enough to pay attention.
Do we
Whatever
have
those creatures are, they are staying up there, and they should probably stay up there.
They aren't like a massive form of the whispers or something that we saw with our good buddy Not Golbez, right?
No, again, you don't know what they are, and you
I was
get the
just seeing if there's a comparison there, but yeah, if that's the case, then
no.
sure.
It is some form of endemic underworld, very scary life form that you are unsure of what they are, but they don't seem to be making it your problem as of
Okay,
now.
so they're not actually following us. There's just a bunch of them moving around.
Yeah. Also,
Cool.
they are big enough that it's only a few of them, but they're just constantly there.
The current weather is spiders.
Yes.
Fair enough. Just they don't seem to be paying attention to us. This is to Milan and Yang, but if any of us have the bright idea of getting really close to the ceiling, bad things will happen. So we shouldn't do that.
Yeah, that is a good general thought. Is don't fly too high in the underworld. Bad things usually happen if you do that.
The cloud, despite being barely above ground level, actually sinks down a little bit further.
Yeah.
Yeah, seeing as how all three of us got fairly high up into the air in the last combat, yep, just that feeling of all of your bones just kind of clench a little bit, and you feel your skin tighten as like, oh, that was really dumb. Oh no.
By the standards of how high you went, it was not too high. Like, you would have to be going, like, several hundred yards up before you are having a serious, there is nothing around you looking around. Like, they are very up there. It is the sky. Which is why the fact that they are still a size that you can kind of evaluate really don't like that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna think about that right now. I'm gonna focus more on the looming threats in front of me than what's far above me.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of which, hey, we're coming up on the dragon.
Yeah, so at this point, the dragon is probably near the fortress, and you are seeing Obsidian opening up the gates of the fortress with a bunch of very disorganized and rapidly trying to reassemble a formation set of skeletons and ghosts with Catholic banner at the front of them. That's new. Were they always there?
I took care of the fortress. Also, we have more troops.
You find anything good inside?
Kind of tilts head. Just you kind of know the answer to that already. Of
Wait,
did not
what
even
do you
check.
mean? What do you mean looking around in there?
Let me rephrase. Did you ask any of the ghosts that you just recruited if there's anything really good inside?
This is in character.
In character silence.
All right, let me try that again. Could you please ask some of the ghosts who are currently here if there's anything good inside?
I mean, you're here.
They listen to you. Look at you.
Hey, did the Weaver give you anything cool?
I'm trying to imagine exactly how they would respond to that question phrased that way after what you just did. They kind of gesture at several of their weapons and armor and the fortress around them. Just kind of vaguely like, look around us. Like, this is all the Weaver.
Milan's going to give Obsidian a slap on the back, saying, "Good work, buddy," and I will use Essence Lending Method. How many motes are you at?
Currently at 2 of 12.
Have 2 motes. I am giving you 2 of my motes to top you off.
Alright, so 4 of 12. Back for Obsidian.
Thank you.
And that pays for the stunt that Obsidian just did.
I can't stop spending motes. Help. Somebody who's good at economy.
Spend less money on stupid stunts. No.
No,
God, I don't know if that's that. No,
I'm actually
okay.
I'm actually pretty well.
Milan is
No, I
like
know you
basically
are.
still at full essence after that fight.
And just went and checked up on it again. Basic function of all familiars is once per session you can recover their
Yep.
rating in motes.
And she, Stalwart Daughter, is a 3-dot familiar, so you could just get 3 motes out of her if you need.
All right, that takes me back up to 10 motes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'll take it. Actually, you know what? No, Obsidian, have an extra third.
Alright, that is 5 of 12 and 9 of 12. Then.
Does that count as Milan burning motes?
Oh, I'm at full bonfire.
Oh,
Already.
right. Okay, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I think all of you were at Bonfire after that fight.
I've got that hair metal band smoke effect going on around me.
Oh, I thought we
Or-
had to use 10 motes to get to full.
Yes, actually. Never mind.
Okay, so I'm not quite at rock band level yet.
Yeah, you get 1 anima per mote you spend, and 10 is your max anima, and that's when you're at Bonfire. But you
Okay.
are glowing, probably.
Yes.
I wanted to mention this, and the best way I can express it is you'll have to look it up at some point yourself just to see it. But I had always had an image, and I just want this on video. I had always had an image in my head of what Obsidian looks like when he bonfires. And it finally hit me exactly what it was. I posted in the chat next day after the session. It is not unlike when Soul Bad Guy goes into dragon mode.
Yeah, Dragon Install from Guilty Gear is a pretty good way visually of expressing what I was imagining as well.
Because Obsidian never sets on fire expressly, but he is burning underneath his skin, and that's a very good way to put it.
Yeah. Just this mass of heat and black and red just burning. Okay, so at this point I will say we can, by the time Repose gets back, would you go in and do anything with the elemental before Repose gets back, or wait?
Let's wait for Repose to get back.
Okay. So that'll be
Yeah, I say wait.
some further time down this way, and by the time Repose gets back, an hour has passed since the elemental fight, so you all get 1 mote.
Does Anima burn off?
I don't actually remember how anima works once you get out of combat. Let me double check that.
I think it cools off at a step per scene.
Yeah. Anima. Okay, dragon-blooded are 5 or more anima. All character. Okay, your damage effect turns on at 5 or more. Passive active is 2 anima. Iconic is 10. And what is this? What is the bleed off rate?
This is not something that they had worked out yet.
It might be something that was worked out, but it's hidden in a spot you wouldn't expect.
Yeah, it says, see page XX for building and using anima, so I'm skimming through the uses of the text because they don't have that hyperlink yet because it's a manuscript. So give me one moment to double check because this is actually kind of important because anima is an in-combat resource. Okay, gaining anima. Show of power persists and fades by 1 level per scene afterwards. So... Okay, you lose 2 anima per scene.
Okay, so we're probably back down.
You've
we've gone
lost
down
4
to-
anima
yeah.
at this point.
Yeah, we can paint it as Obsidian doing the move there was him burning off a lot of his anima.
Yeah.
He was too hopped up on the elements, had to get rid of it somehow.
So... Let us see. There are several events that I have that are all queued up and ready to go, and I'm going to see which one happens first. Alright, not the worst one, but not the best one. Okay, so... It is about this time when Repose gets back to the crew to reapproach, catch up on everything, and notice that the skeleton fort has been, suborned, that the War Strider crashes into the Hungry Ghosts. It decided to take the easy route directly into the swarm rather than going towards the mountain path, and is just going on a complete rampage. It's not even so much entirely attacking them so much as it is just rampaging through them, and the collateral of its movement and its presence and its flailing around and biting and everything, and the mass blooming and dying of flowers as they flare up in its essence and immediately die when exposed to the underworld is just wiping out dozens and then hundreds of the Hungry Ghosts as in quick succession. So if you got plans for it, it's currently in the middle of lunch.
Kind of looks at Repose. I'm hella dumb, boss. I don't know nothing about this. All I know is Command Army and B Hot Chip.
Just kind of pass the view along to Yang of, so while you were up there, did you see any labels? Does it have a name? Diagrams?
I will say without a roll, no. If anything, if there was any sort of identification or memorial as to what this dragon was, it was deliberately destroyed. Because, that is how the underworld do.
Would
Well,
it
I
be
guess we gotta
possible
give
to
them a new one.
to think of like, are there any notable dead wood dragons? Or is that a very big?
That would depend heavily, because elementals are born and die not infrequently. Large ones, lesser elementals, tend to be regional and, can come and go. They're usually big deals, but also for a fact that this was Shogunate era, so this is old as balls. So if you were gonna roll, this
Okay.
is gonna be very high difficulty to even guess what this might have been.
Alternate question: what could I do to make its meal more flavorful? What's the secret spice I can put on these ghosts to sway the favor of the wood dragon?
Well, if this were a normal, living, grand beast,
Do I have any
plant,
ghost paprika?
spirit, when is the least wrong time to interrupt its revelry?
All right, so for that question, I will give finesse sagacity from Repose of how do I piss this thing off the least, and another finesse sagacity from Milan for how do I get this thing's favor specifically, because these are related but very different questions.
The basic three.
All right, so basic understanding from Repose of evaluating, okay, Wood Dragon, currently on Rampage, having lunch. Step 1, don't be in the way of the mouth. Step 2, probably bad form to interrupt lunch unless it is having a clear moment of it is just kind of on autopilot. Still don't be in the way of the mouth. Step 3, if it isn't a Grand Beast and it is an elemental of wood, it might be just doing this out of a combination of lunch and fuck everything that I see in front of me. So helping it might get its favor if it is still lucid enough to recognize that you are doing that. For Milan, what you were thinking of is, okay, how do you get the favor of a dragon in general? And that's usually perpetuating its domain, or, in other situations, helping its, situation politically or regionally, which I don't think is really going to be a thing that is relevant in this one's case, but something that would be appealing to this dragon would be one of two things. Either it is doing this out of a hatred for what it is seeing, or a desire for revenge, and then you can assist with that, or there is some sort of innate problem that it is trying to fix, some sort of innate pain or distress to identify and assist with.
Okay, a follow-up question. Are ghosts affected by the elements?
I mean, you can light one on fire.
Can I create a windstorm that's corralling all the ghosts further and further into a ball in front of the dragon so they can't get away?
If you've got a charm for that, yes, I would say.
I don't know. Well, let me have a look.
Because that's a pretty wide-ranging effect for
that's
anima.
We have. Oh. Actually, no. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, at a distance, like not close to the mouth, start just lopping off ghosts using spirit shredding attack.
Mm-hmm.
Just starting to put these ghosts to bed.
And yeah, that lines up with one of Repose's conclusions of maybe just help it start taking out the trash. So,
Yang,
instead
what is the strongest sedative that you routinely carry?
You do not know what you ask of me, brother.
Well, then what is the second strongest sedative you routinely carry?
Potion seller.
What would even work on this?
Roll me finesse sagacity with a stunt because you're you. You don't even need to stunt on this one. You're Yang. You are a stunt. All right. So you remember the hardware store song by Weird Al where he just goes into this rapid fire pattern of everything you might find in a hardware store? Imagine that, but that's playing in your head for all of the sedatives and poisons that you are trying to apply to this situation.
Yeah, this is probably not the first time this song has gone through his head.
So just this super quick, like almost musical patter of, so as you're thinking to yourself, okay, one thing that you can narrow down pretty quickly, if it is plant-based, it's probably right out, or it needs to be very specific, because it is plants. You need to be finding what is going to work specifically on this thing. If it is some sort of other essence base or other element base, it needs to be something that wood can metabolize, which brings you around to thinking, wait, well, wood draws power from earth and water, and so what do we got here that's aligned with earth and water? And we start rooting around inside of the cabinet, start pulling out rare earth metals that will, like, just very much kind of like the equivalent of pulling out a vial of methyl mercury and just going, nah, probably not enough. Just extremely deadly metals and ores, and you just go, nah, probably not. Nah, not enough. Just take out some yellow cake uranium, shake it around in a box, maybe later. At which point you start rooting around and you come across an idea. You woke this thing up by basically supercharging it with wood essence via the parasitic orchids, and you want it sedated, presumably not dead, or at least not, dead and not moving.
Yeah, just make it chill out for a little bit.
So, what you settle on is a conclusion of a bunch of mineral salts and ores that, like, what you are doing right now is, like, if you presented this back when you were training in the Excelsi as, like, this is a toxin I'm going to give someone, they'd be like, what are you doing, trying to kill the fucking unconquered sun? It is like, this is the sort of thing where a couple of drops would knock an elephant flat for a couple of days, as you are very, very, very carefully handling these materials, putting some salts together, putting some salt together, a little bit of extract from a couple of vines here and there, and you get something that coagulates into something between a powder and a paste. And that thank you, Morgan. If I had had the alacrity of brain, I would have tried doing it myself, but that extremely good, yes. You just kind of make a cocktail of everything that you know probably works on a wood element creature, and just hope that it's gonna work. And you're going with, I mean, it's the size of a war strider, and it's topped up on anger and death and decay and God knows what, and thousands of seeds of plants of powerful essence. Overkill is probably a hard target to reach. You're not entirely sure what this is going to do or how this is going to do it, but it's certainly probably going to have some sort of effect. Trademark. It'll be fine. Probably. So, Repose is presented with this extremely, probably taped 3 layers tight with cloth and sealant of just no, really, don't let this touch your skin ever. Don't let it look at your skin. Do not make eye contact with what's inside the vial. And presented with the idea of, okay, do we use this?
Okay, I'm handing you a vial. We cannot acknowledge what is inside the vial. Simply acknowledging it will set it off. We will just say it is empty.
You know that thing where chemists are just addicted to seeing how many nitrogens they can put together in one chain before it explodes? Kind of that, but with poison.
Don't even think about it.
We are now calibrating the vial.
How do I administer this?
It's a good question. You weren't really thinking about that.
Well, it has a
Service
mouth.
team is probably where's the reactor?
Down the
Well, it
mouth.
has a mouth.
Well, I guess we're gonna make a pill.
Yeah, like the actual probable application is just throw the vial down its throat.
Hey Milan, you're the thrower.
Okay, but just immediately before we do that, because we sure do have multiple people possessing of clever improvisation method, which can build a thing that will last for a single useful task.
Yes.
From just like things that Yang had set aside while looking for the active ingredient proposed, just reflexively spots and identifies a bunch of different compounds that are also used in embalming, and just sets aside the question of why Yang has these in his box of things for living medicine.
Why do you
Of course
have
we
to
have embalming fluids.
Why do you have distilled formaldehyde? Why do you have silver nitrate?
And just kind of prepares an outer layer for this payload that is mummification wrappings. Just get them nicely perfumed and sealed and coated in preservative.
The vial is now under so many protective barriers that it is now approaching a small ball rather than an actual bandaged vial.
All right, so I just need to throw this in the mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all, I'm going to use, what is it? Dragon Grace weapons to bless it with elemental energy.
Give me a second.
Let's see. What does wood
Be glad
feed
that
on?
wasn't a botch.
Oh yeah, I know what I was doing.
You're fine. Be glad that wasn't a botch.
No, I knew what I was saying, and I was fully prepared to Milan to be asleep for the rest of the session.
You sleep now. Thunk.
I don't see a next dice roll yet.
I have not.
Okay.
It hasn't. No,
Before
that
you
was
do
just
the roll.
me very quickly seeing, okay, you are channeling more essence into this increasingly unstable pile of poison.
I was channeling it into the wrappings.
Yeah.
Before you do the roll, can Angler assist by observing it and how quickly it's chomping and whatever to tell when its
Yeah,
mouth
yeah.
is going to be open in this direction for the best possible angle?
Yeah, absolutely. That'll be a finesse ranged combat. Or finesse war if you don't have that.
Boy, both of those things are just so great. Let me just look down my list. 5 either way.
You assume safety gloves are going to protect you from this thing.
Get 2 extra successes. I helped.
3 dice.
3.
3 extra dice. Okay, so
Jesus!
can I take
I'm
narrative
glad I
control?
Yeah, go nuts!
So Milan does not throw it into the mouth. Milan throws it into the crowd of ghosts, who, upon sensing the elementally enhanced wrappings Milan powered up, went, "Ooh, elemental dinner. That's essence. I can eat that."
Lunch!
Forgetting the giant war strider. So they all
The dog
Rush at it. dogpile at it, and then the war strider bites into it. And
Yeah, that's smart.
upon doing this, I'm going to use a charm.
Go ahead.
Morale boosting meal.
Fuck
I
you.
have prepared a meal for this war strider. I get double nines with social. We get double nines with social interactions to it.
Well, you heard them.
You piece of shit! You absolute bastard! I need a moment, I'm sorry.
look, I was going to provide the proper seasoning for the meal it's eating, so I figured,
It's genius!
why not opium?
God damn it!
Forbidden strawberry.
Behold the ultimate poppy seed bagel.
I'm gonna link something in the Codex Tabula that is correct for this situation. Also in the chat.
Yeah. Just hang on.
Yeah.
No, I'm putting this in the actual played on the VOD. 1 second. Oh, you already played it? Okay. Alright. Alright, so anything that I would have done about rolling or resistance stats or anything else? No, you just got 17 successes and also a really fucking smart use of a charm. I don't fucking care anymore. So Turtle just kind of turns around, gives a big old chomp, swallows it down. It takes less than 15 seconds before you notice that the stomping and rampaging has gone from very deliberate and very methodical clearing to drunken stumbling and just whoa. It is that feeling I'm going to add like at least, well, how many people are watching? I'm gonna add at least 12 or 15 people by saying, you know when you stand up way too fast and your head starts spinning, you're about to fall over? That's the expression that you get off this turtle of just, oh shit!
These ghosts ain't shit. 004, hokey fuck.
Okay, fuck! Yes. Oh no, I underestimated the animals, oh shit. So,
We should probably clean up the ghosts it leaves behind.
At this point, it is now less consuming the hungry ghosts and more just kind of staggering over and kind of slumping into and crushing the ones nearby. And at this point, with the revelation of, most of them hadn't really been trying to actively combat the War Strider. Most of them had been trying to get away. And when they realize, oh, there's a Heart of Dragon Blood in here. There's like a bunch of really high essence signatures coming from over the hill. Go, leave, bye. Just several of them just start fucking sprinting. They're climbing over each other. A lot of them just start burrowing into the ground just to get away any way possible. They just start digging down and pulling dirt over themselves. Like, I'm dead. I'm dead. I'm dead. I'm not here. So
A lot of them very, very strongly think, I think it's about time to enter the recycle again.
Honestly, yeah, like some of them probably have their tethers so thoroughly snapped by just I want to be anywhere but here, that Rapose sees the very kind of uncommon occurrence of a non-zero number of hungry ghosts just releasing back into the cycle out of pure psychological response rather than an exorcism. They just look at the situation and go, I don't know, fuck it. Whatever this is, I don't want it anymore.
None for me, thanks.
Now's a good time to be reborn as a wreck. I think I'll do that.
The clarity is shocked through of like, they realize, oh, I'm outside of my body. Oh, this sucks. Oh, there's an option to go somewhere else. I'm taking that. I don't care what it is. And just poof. Yeah, just I don't know how to respond to the situation. It immediately yanked into the cycle of rebirth. But yeah, so the remnants of them that are still in, battle desiring and or ability condition are just fuck it, run, get away. This is a dead end. They came from this way. It's not safe. Clearly we can go to the mountain pass and it'll be safe, and absolutely nothing is going to be coming up to pincer us from over there in about 10 minutes.
Hehe, Lamau.
So yeah, now you have
Said the dragon blood.
Lamau. So now you have a very staggering, dizzy, disoriented, barely holding its shit together, wood dragon? Zombie? Wood dragon?
Hey,
War Strider? Still unclear exactly what this is.
How's it going?
Are you saying that in Old Realm?
I don't know Old Realm.
It doesn't understand a goddamn word you're saying.
Does anybody know Old Realm?
My horse does.
Have your horse talk to it.
Yeah, have your horse talk to it.
Have the horse talk to it.
Okay, Darren, question, how many legs does this have?
The turtle? 4?
Yes. Okay, so I don't have to roll the 3 dice. I get to roll a normal amount of dice?
Oh my god, you're right. You're not communicating to the two-legged. You're communicating to the... God damn it! Ah! I love my players! I say angrily with a huge smile on my face.
The horse just kind of whinnies in Old Realm?
Campaign rules.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad for all of you that we've got here. I'm so glad we could have big dramatic moments and also this stupid bullshit in the same game. It is my
So-
favorite thing.
Not to take a step back, but these past few sessions, I've gone into going, okay, I'm a little mentally exhausted or physically exhausted. I'm just going to dial it back for a session. I've not been dialing it back at all.
Good, correct. So, Stalwart Daughter approaches the immense behemoth and just starts making very odd horse noises. Like, it's clearly those noises a horse should make, but they are in a different cadence and a different set of frequencies, and it is just like the rest of the crew has to come to the conclusion immediately, like, okay, this is still horse, but this is horse speaking different language of what the. It is just one of the most surreal sensations of just wait, this is using a different language. What?
It's original
Oh my God,
dialect.
Darren, I just realized something.
Hmm.
So you know how we established back in previous edition that I got to get the extra bonus because she was an elemental horse.
Yeah, she was from the elementally bred bloodlines on the Isle.
Yes. And because I'm from Wood family, she is likely Wood. There's a non-zero chance this horse has Wood dragon blood in her.
You know, I had never actually decided what lineage that she had, but here at the 11th hour, it is just way too perfect for her to not be Woodblood, especially considering what's happened to her over the course of the game. And yeah, that'll cinch it. The Wood Dragon just turns around and stops. It's still swaying on its feet, and it just kind of...
Oh no! Oh, we've given this dragon a real bad drunk episode.
It just kind of withdraws its legs up into its shell to just thunk down and lie down rather than try to keep standing while wobbling. And it's just kind of staring out of one eye in the direction of Stalwart Daughter. And you have never seen a skeletal reptilian face covered in flowers so clearly look like it is questioning its own grip on reality than you have right now.
This is a good campaign.
Oh, I forgot. That's actually 4
good horse.
successes. Double 9s in social rolls.
Yeah, I know.
Yep.
So, Stalwart Daughter just kind of looks back to the rest of the crew, just a visible kind of like, well, I got it to lie down, now what?
Gonna look at Repose.
Horse looks to Milan, Milan looks to Repose.
I don't speak Old Realm.
We have a patient then.
Sidian also looks at Repose.
Can I name it?
You do have the, well, you have the basic power of you could just call it a name, and also you do have the crossbow if you don't think that would be a
I'm
problem.
gonna call it Gilala.
Gilala.
Galala.
Yep, Gilala.
Kind, gentle Galala.
Would never hurt anyone who doesn't deserve it.
Oh, God, Morgan.
Alright, so I think the approach here is Pose will head up to the face and start attempting an interview. And then Yang can go poking about, following up on the initial sabotage.
Alright, so you can roll either sagacity or embassy depending on the approach you want to take with one of your primary stats.
Repose, deciding to go in from the initial position of treating this like approaching a new ghost, or, well, rather, a new approach to an old ghost, is going to have like a script to follow for helping to provoke the right words out of the patient and try to probe
that's more
gently and indirectly for
that's more sagacity then, yeah.
the way to ask what hurts without asking what hurts.
Yeah.
And just throw the old excellency into that.
Alright, in the meantime, Yang, roll me a finesse crafts roll to kind of poke around and see what the hell has happened to this thing.
Huh.
Whack! Yang's entire reaction is whack.
I don't even know where to start with this thing.
Yeah, you just look at the mass of, like, flowers on bone, and you just stare and just... Ma'am?
In my non-biased professional opinion, it's quite pretty. But that's kind of it.
Repose, meanwhile, begins to try and interview Gilala, the dormant spirit within the skeletal beast, and is having to negotiate both. This is a very old entity in terms of its mindset. It is deeply confused and disoriented by nature of coming back into some form of existence in a very strange way. And the other thing of it's high off its nuts on sedatives you cannot even imagine. You literally cannot get to the state of sedated this thing is without being dead. So there is a considerable amount of hemming and hawing and needing to gently repeat questions and investigate further nonsensical follow-ups. And it begins to emerge that it was a wood dragon, and it passed away via, from what you can tell, and it's really hard, and you're not entirely sure, this might have been a wood dragon that was affiliated with the Censor of the East that just decided, rather than turning into a greater elemental dragon, to just be like, alright, I'm done, and die, rather than continue to grow. As for Repose would be very intimately familiar with this via religion. For the rest of the crew, greater elemental dragons, the more elements you stuff in a dragon, the less control over themselves they have, and they just become more a raw, uncontrolled expression of the element itself. One of the most famous greater elemental dragons is the Kukla, which is a greater earth elemental dragon, which was one of the first ones to create that status, and it is basically entirely without a sense of consciousness itself, and it can only interact with the world by obliterating it down to fertile but ungrown land.
At greater dragon status, they have become fully a Godzilla.
Yeah,
There's
they
a
are not
character
just
in there somewhere, but it only expresses itself through apocalyptic violence.
yes, they're not just Godzilla.
Friend to children.
They are uncontrollable force of nature that can't turn it off. And a lot of elemental dragons don't want to be that. So they will either deliberately stall out and stop cultivating, or they will get other positions, like a lot of them eventually get promoted up to the celestial bureaucracy to avoid that. And in this one's case, it decided, I'm a wood dragon, I'm just gonna fucking die. I'm just gonna, like, hit my own off switch and just turn into compost. And then, as a way of honoring the sacrifice that it made, and, you know, not becoming a potentially apocalyptic doom scenario, the shogunate presumably, it has no idea, this is you filling in the blanks because it was dead, presumably took its body as a way of honoring it, or as a way of going, hey, we have this perfectly good, incredibly powerful zombie dragon corpse, and made it into a war strider to venerate it and or reuse and recycle. And then eventually it just got, you know, hijacked, and you know the rest, with being turned into a soulsteel abomination. And then it got force-fed a bunch of wood essence that woke up the dormant part of it, because one of the innate things about wood essence is death is only the beginning. So long as the cycle continues, this isn't the same dragon that it was back in the shogunate, but you woke up enough of it that it has the memories of what this body used to be, and it is sorting through that. And that is probably where a non-zero amount of the distress is coming from, is that as you are teasing this out, it is kind of realizing, I should be dead. I am alive. I should be dead. Am I the same thing anymore? Does that matter? Is there a distinction? But the only way it can really express this existential crisis at the current moment in its current emotional state is through extreme violence.
Well,
Perhaps if this was not in the underworld, it would have been able to have a more peaceful reflection on all of its very conflicted senses of memory and identity, but it woke up and then it was in the land of inimical and anathemic to itself, and there was a bunch of ghosts, and it lunch.
well. I do know of an army well on their way to delivering an eviction to the one most responsible for removing you from the dignity of prolonged storage.
There is a kind of deep rumble at that.
There you go,
Whether-
on one last rampage.
Whether you should ultimately find it within your will to either take up the sword again, or ultimately to demobilize and hopefully, with greater luck, move to re-enter the cycle. Before doing either, you should, in no uncertain terms, be sure to tender your resignation to your supposed employer.
There is a very, very, very slow nod a considerable lag time after processing later.
Just like the slowed down and more carefully paced out version of every time the repose has just kind of leaned up next to someone who's dying and being like, hey,
Get vengeance.
get mad. Get mad.
Proposed with a pamphlet saying how to tell someone on opiates to get mad.
This smacks of Fandaniel.
This is not nearly Fandaniel enough. This is.
There is not enough
No,
Crypt
no.
Keeper involved here.
No spoilers.
No, I know what was in 5.
Yeah.
X of the Bastard, but
Yeah.
You know what Fandaniel and his Fandaniel and.
hmm.
We do now.
I think we're good to leave the dragon to just mellow, figure
Launch.
out
Let it
life
vibe a
and
bit,
afterlife.
but we should. Perhaps let's put it up to dice of how swayable to taking a couple of shots at the Doom House.
I didn't even think of. I was just like, yeah, this is a big Godzilla. It's like, oh right, the big Godzilla has a cannon on it.
It has a gun.
It has a
Yeah,
gun.
it sure does have a gun.
We gave the Godzilla a gun.
We gave Gilala so it could be an instrument of peace.
The
Milan's
peace
just
beam.
gonna take a look at Doomhouse and over the direction of the Hecatoncheir choices.
All right, I will put forward if we are thinking of which targets do we shoot the cannon at. Doomhouse will probably escalate things faster than the hacking ton over there.
Is the Heka doing anything, or it's just kind of hanging out?
As of last scouting report, it was just vibing near the essence that was flowing into Doomhouse.
Just wiggling ominously. Well, this wouldn't be asking the Strider to shoot right away. We let it sober up a bit first before opening fire.
Please, for the love of God.
Oh no, we ask it to fire and it blows up Onyx. Oh no. Please no.
Somehow
Doom forward.
shoots exactly backwards.
So this is an out of character question.
Mm-hmm.
The fuck happened to Wildcats?
You will learn.
Alright.
Don't believe me, I have not dropped the thread of there is Fey essence that has been taken out of account and is being used somewhere. But of all the Fey,
in the robot still.
no, of all of the Fey that died, Wildcat is the one that got less directly utilized and is more, let's call it a free agent in this situation in terms of the free flowing essence. The Weaver got direct hands on all of the rest of it. Wildcat just kind of got vaporized. There is a small puff of wild essence just kind of around.
Mildly relieved and also disappointed it didn't just give a cat a Gundam.
Understandable.
Moat will help? Moat will help. Moat is listening.
What
Moat is
is
sniffing.
What are you
What
having?
is there some sort of residual cat-ish but doom-tainted essence somewhere on this machine? Some sort of weirdo false cat has been leaving their smell all over this object.
This is a good botch for you. I will say that ahead of time as I am laughing ominously. This is a good botch for you. This was the botch to see if they did something well or not. So, smash cut, away from the group talking to Galala. up towards the barrel of the cannon, where, unseen by anybody else, Moat has been sniffing around. Not inside the cannon. Moat is not as vibes and no brain as Wildcat was. But it's just kind of sniffing around and generally trying to get an idea of, okay, what the hell is this thing? It looks like Doom, but it doesn't smell like Doom at all. And then just hair puffs all the way out and just slow. And Repose could just sympathetically feel the hackles on the back of the neck just raise as Moat is just sensing something bad.
Oh, this will be fun.
Oh, better leap up there and diagnose.
Moat is staring, puffed all of the way out, like near circular cat puff. Back arced all the way up, staring down the barrel into the kind of guttering light of the reactor and the disassembled internal compartments and things like that. It is basically the gun is now basically just a barrel straight to the essence reactor. There aren't any more pilot seats or any other internal chambers or plating anymore. And on the inside of it, there's something that's very hard to notice at first, but then you look closer and you notice the inside of the barrel is very lightly covered in singed fur. Like, all of it. The entire inside has been, like, laminated or seasoned with roasted fur. And it smells on first smell like cat fur, but when you lean in, Moat is just, like, intensifies the low-level cat distress noise. And when you look back to Moat to check on, it's okay, it's okay. You look back, and the pattern of the fur is different. Like,
I'm
it
just
has
gonna offer up a where is Doom here to identify if there is like a creature's worth of juice left here.
This is not a cognizant Fae anymore, but the essence of Wildcat has basically been fused to the gun barrel. There is a tiny amount of wild mutation and radiation and the like liminal remnant bits of a Fae stuck inside of this gun. If Galala ever went topside for long enough and like maybe wandered near a wild pocket, maybe it could reconstitute into a Fae. Maybe, but right now it's just a very strange phenomena where it is pretty clear that from looking at it, a Fae got in this gun barrel and got obliterated, but in a way that did not eradicate its essence so much as it fused the essence with the gun in a sort of like metal sticking to metal kind of way. Rather than obliterating the Fae, it has now become a reinforcing layer of this thing's story.
It let itself be welded.
Yes.
Hmm. Hmm. Did any, like, gun discomfort come up in the interview? Is there an itch in the canon at all?
Galala doesn't really even seem to be fully aware of the gun. It's not part of the original body. It's like a graft.
Hmm. Hmm. is the gun part a bit dissociated from the main body?
Fairly so, actually. You can say, in terms of what Galala would consider my body, gun's not part of it at all. That was built on later after it died. This is like one of the few artificial pieces of the War Strider chassis that is still left on it. So yeah, it is dissociated from Galala's consciousness and sense of identity. Presumably, to fire it now, it would be a matter of just send essence up through hole in back of body, and then it would just get, funneled by the gun.
Yang, you're the one who works with siege engines.
I mean, I guess.
At least more often than I do.
I dabble.
Did you... Vague gesturing at Kennen.
You want me to take it off?
Spend time with it? What do you think of it?
What would you think of that? Probably very little, honestly.
Just kind of summarize
Summarize the vibes.
just screen wipe, deploy the idea of, all right, there might be like a vestigial second spirit dwelling in the gun, in which case...
Can I just get like a sagacity because the character have to... I think this is an instance where I'm going to have the character think about it instead of the player.
Sure, go ahead.
So I'll just roll sagacity plus finesse.
Mm-hmm. This is a situation where the intelligence, or the very liminal remnants thereof within the artillery, would not be able to, do anything on its own. This is more going to alter the essence that comes out of it, and maybe, some of the trajectories or qualities. This is more flavoring for whatever ammunition comes out of the barrel of this.
Yang is going to stare at Pose dead in the fucking eyes and just whisper, I think you can shoot cats. Like full cats.
Thinking.
Like the entire motherfucker, you know?
Very internally conflicted over whether this is a good or bad thing.
Like more cats, one, but we'd be hurtling them at God knows what trajectory, what velocity.
Just kind of squinting intensely.
Can't
thinking
believe the
about
leopards would
this.
shoot howitzers at my face.
Kind of slowly crystallizing into a position of this does not mean we are friends. Wild entity.
I'm gonna pet the gun. I'm gonna give the gun scratches. I'm gonna try and get the gun to purr to reinforce the
You know what? Give me a force navigate roll.
It was a good Gilala.
You cannot express neither quite what you perceive nor what you feel, either of you, when Yang just starts running fingers and hands down the inside of the barrel and then just kind of starts scratching the burned fur along the inside, and the metal of the cannon begins to resonate like a tuning fork, roughly at the frequency of a cat purr.
Hey, Angler, what was
That's-
that noise?
Yeah, everyone
Weird.
else can hear it distantly. They have no idea of the context, but they're hearing the gun make a noise.
Hit the deck.
From inside the can, you'll probably hear Yang just go, "No, it's just purring. It's fine."
Are we clear?
Repose it can purr. Does this change anything? I discovered a new variable.
This can be of use. It might help.
Just every vein standing out on his neck and his head. Just.
Just a lot of muttered old realm cursing along lines of consider the moon. What about the moon? Yeah, so Repose begrudging approval of the existence of this weapon and our new understanding of it. Tolerance has been extended.
Tolerance.
He's not going to smite it.
I will not destroy it, but I will not be happy about it.
I will
Yeah,
not give
like
it riches.
Honestly, like basically half of a religious scripture about Luna could be considered the deep swears.
I will acknowledge the cat gun. I will not give it pets.
What would the Vigil Army think of this?
He kind of Rose kind of turns around and slumps and takes a firm hold of Mode, and they both kind of stabilize each other. Perhaps, if we set the right example, it will wake into
Moats.
a productive vampire
Moat's
of the environment.
entire body, from the base of the tail up, is very still, very regal, very just kind of standing, sitting on back legs, front legs popped up, still, calm, slow blinks. And then you get to the tail, and it is thrashing like a helicopter, like beating the back of Repose's head and spine, is just constantly thrashing angrily, while the rest of the cat is like, I'm fine, and the tail is just like, rival cat territory, murder.
If any part of it should misbehave, we will administer the slaps. But only when it misbehaves. Until then, we keep watch.
Mm.
Don't let that motherfucking cat out.
And they just both, turn and dead stare at the gun. Just glossy, shining eyes in the night. Yo.
It is a gun. It guns back.
Well, that's a pretty fucked up story. Cat beam.
All right.
That's a pretty fucked up story.
So I'm going to say at this point another hour has passed, so everyone else gets another moat. And I will see what on the chain of... Well, one thing importantly is going to be happening now. Let me get the tokens to represent it. Where are you? There. And... Oh, I didn't get you a border. Oh well, I'll just use that. So this is the army of the North Ghosts and the Catholics on the left, and this is the Vigil Army on the right. And let me just adjust those tokens to give better proportion. Go back to the music. So, as the hour of investigating the War Strider and then the mystery of Gun wraps up, you begin to hear from the south the sounds of conflict as the Hungry Ghosts get slammed into on their retreat by the advancing Vigil army, and Repose doesn't even have to look over to be just like, yeah, no, they're fine. Everybody else who looks over is treated to a absolute spectacle of literally just lifetimes upon lifetimes and then extended lifetimes beyond that of drill and training and utterly unbreaking morale as this swarm of hungry ghosts slams directly into the vigil. And it's not just a vigil of trained soldiers. It is everyone who has died in the religion of the vigil who in their afterlife decided to give their afterlife in defense of the vigil and its ancestry. There are plenty of non-combatant ghosts and, venerated ancestors, and there are plenty of the vigil who went on into, the cycle of reincarnation. There are also plenty of people who in life had no real combat experience, but in death decided, hey, what else am I gonna do? So, it is not the appearance of a standard army. It looks basically like a representative sample of Repose's village just stretched back ad infinitum of just young and old people of all sorts and just kind of kitted out with the equipment that they can have. But it is the sort of thing where you can see what looks like a professional soldier and she's side by side with an old man that just has a garden hoe beating the fucking shit out of a ghost, and they're both doing about as well. And again, to see it, it is at least 3,000 to 5,000 of them, if not more. It is a huge amount of ghosts. And on the flank, coming up from the mountains, pincering them as they are trying to scamper away, you can see the banners of House Catholic and the considerably less restrained hooting and hollering skeleton crew leading the charge in front of the North folk, just kind of getting into the flank of the advancing army and ripping them apart. And check for event. Whew, close, but not quite yet. Alright, you do have time to meet up with the army if you want. If I want. That's what I said if you want. I know saying exactly what that is. Barring player action, what looks like it is going to happen is that the armies are going to advance, realize the hungry ghosts are completely gone, and without information about the fort, probably either advance towards the fortification or towards the skeleton warriors who are also advancing towards the pass now that they realize that there is a fight going on. You are also now at the point where you are no longer in visual assessment range of what's going on with Onyx. So that is roughly what looks like it is going to be happening next, is the skeletons are going to be advancing to a military conflict with the armies.
I still feel like something about the hecatonch here because it's this big unknown factor on the field.
And I am rolling something on the side that I refuse to elaborate on.
All right.
Should we go show these skeletons that they shouldn't be on the field?
How many skeletons are there on the field currently?
Head count is probably at least matching the head count of the Vigil, if not more of them. In terms of discipline, give me a force war roll. just to give a quick vibe check of discipline between the forces.
Like I had my good rolls earlier.
No thoughts, head empty, boys. Boys. The boys are here.
What's gonna happen is we're gonna get them.
Who cares what they're gonna do? My boys! My boys!
Alright, so...
I can throw a roll.
Well, okay. Here's my question.
Mm-hmm.
The visual is fucking-gantic, right?
Yeah, several thousand people.
Okay, cool. I want to see if there's a better charm for this. But, look, I can't stop using charms as... I guess I'm not as bright anymore, am I?
At this point, you have probably all lost all of your anima.
Well, okay. I lost 2, spent 2.
Motes. No, anima is different from motes.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. But anima equals motes.
Yes.
It equals motes spent.
See, yeah,
I lost
you
2,
spent 2.
spent 2,
Mhm.
lost 2. So I'm at 6.
Mhm.
How
So
bright?
you are just barely still dealing damage with your banner.
How bright am I?
Visible from a distance, not like from miles away, but like you look over on the horizon and you would be confused for like a campfire or something.
Okay.
You can illuminate a room.
Mm-hmm.
I guess what I'm saying right now is how visible the approach to the approaching armies are we?
By default, they can kind of see that there's some group of some people who are glowing. Dragonbloods have ways of being very loud and very visible if they want to be.
Right. Cool. I might do a combo use of charms here. I hate that this charm, it's such a perfect name for not what it needs to be. Which is, I appreciate that they finally put in a charm that is undeniable defend other.
Yeah.
Captivating battlefield display is such a perfect name for anything else.
Yeah.
However, I'm gonna invoke the concept of captivating battlefield display of the Exalted incredible displays draws all eyes and weapons to him. And combo that with... That's right, baby. Cypher Mouse conquers the lion.
Yep. Knew this was coming. Mouse conquers lion.
And the third one of this. This was the one.
Mm-hmm.
That I had in my back pocket, Darren.
Yep.
Imperial Devotion.
Oh.
The Exalt soldiers treat their minor virtue as loyalty to their commander. The full thing is, this is a variation of Fearless Vanguard technique. Commit 1 mote for the scene. During the dramatic scene, the Exalt soldiers gain 2 success bonuses to resolve against social influences that would frighten, distract, and confuse them so long as she leads them. If she is present, when her battle groups make route checks, she gains 2 successes to the roll, which does not apply to the dice limit. She reduces the penalty to flurry actions to command her troops by 1.
So yeah, that is basically you are able to lead a combat group and do other things pretty freely. And Mouse Conquers Lion, for everyone else, is treat your battle group as having a drill of 3 for the purposes of accuracy and damage, which is a huge upgrade to most groups. It also gains an additional number of outnumber qualities of the commander's choice equal to your essence. The enemies making decisive attacks against the battle group suffer a 3-die penalty to attacks and damage on top of this.
And the one last thing for my back pocket pulling this out.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of experience going into the finale here that I did not know how to spend in any which way. So one thing that I did do is I took a 4 merit of the Ghost Crew.
Yep, the Catholic Army is a actual represented battle group on Obsidian Sheet now.
20 health levels, overwhelming 5, elite drill, 3 success modifier, deadly ground, which I think is enemies in close range reduces their defense by 1.
Yes. And also, when you're using Imperial Devotion, you give 4 more of those outnumber qualities, which are on page 364 of the manuscript.
I ain't got enough brain for that.
That's good. No, it won't be directly relevant right now, I will say. Not
But
this
anyway.
session. Basically, this group is horrifyingly powerful as a battle group. This is like one of the scariest armies that you can make, short of being a solar and pumping all of your things into the unique solar make my people monster trucks.
And for
stuff.
the one last final thing before the charge of Obsidian to motivate his men to also charge the skeleton warriors is Obsidian is going to don the replica armor that he had
From Sybil.
from Sybil create.
Alright, I do have one question. Although, actually, no, it's not a question, because the way that your charms work means that, hey, you know the skeletons that you just drafted? It says all of your battle groups.
Mm-hmm.
That magic is hitting them, and they're just suddenly just going, yeah, get them!
Wait, actually, this guy rules!
Man, why didn't we do this earlier? Fuck, get them! Yeah!
So anyway, that'll resolve at some point, but we are charging the skeleton warriors. Everybody's like, alright, how do we approach? Yeah!
So yeah, just the scene of all of the characters evaluating the Vigil army coming up on the horizon and mopping up the hungry ghosts. And then they just turn, and Obsidian is also, yet again, running off into the distance, except this time he has a couple of dozen war ghosts around. And then you just hear this trumpet blast and this chorus of yells as this square of legionary troops does a charge across the field from down the mountain.
From the start of this session, half of this was Obsidian hopped up on Essence. The other half of this is he heard his men were back and were approaching, and he could not control himself.
Alright, let me just pull this one up. Oh.
Whoa.
So, this is what the enemy is hearing, basically. As Obsidian rallies the troops and charges forward into an enemy force that outnumbers him at least tenfold, and they all visibly realize this is not enough of a numbers advantage. This is nowhere near enough of a numbers advantage. We are in so much trouble. Roll me force war with a stunt.
Oh, wait. I have taken some masteries. Did I take the war mastery? I took... Right. I took combat. I believe... Yeah, I took combat physique and as a joke navigate.
Yeah.
You do have your men charging with you, so that's, I think you can
Yes.
use your merit as 4 dice.
Oh, worm. That's what, 16? Yeah, I'm good.
Well. Let me just double check exactly what those charms did again while I look at that number. If you have a narrative of how you want to describe your reuniting with your troops, go ahead while I do that, because I have some numbers to crunch.
I got nothing. Brain is empty at this point.
No, it's all good, it's all good, I just wanted to check.
No, I have an idea off the top of my head.
Go ahead.
Two things occur as he's charging. As we're approaching, Obsidian was starting to simmer in more ways than one, and then as soon as he saw his men bursted into flames again, Obsidian is going to do two things. One, he is going to channel his essence to create a banner of flame as he charges forward. And in the other hand, he is going to be swinging ringing steel to create a war march chant. Not chant, song.
Yeah. Alright, so as you and your vanguard slam in on a pincer to the skeleton warriors, there is just this absolute howl from your soldiers, the men and women who died, who spent their lives and their afterlives serving you, who went to their deaths for their duty, who knew in death that you had been right and were vindicated when you went back to the Isle. And now you're here again, and they are with you again, and they are fighting again. And they can finally pay you back for everything you have done for them, for all of your memory. Your memory has kept them alive down here. You holding them in your heart alone was enough to keep them burning. And they are paying that back as furiously and as powerfully and as proudly as the warriors and soldiers of the House Cat that can possibly do. Your soldiers are home, and they're doing what they're best at. So the rest of the Hearth and just kind of turns and sees this swarm of mindless undead dotted with undead, war ghost commanders and lieutenants and more conscious undead, initially trying to absorb the impact, absorb the blow, try to handle it. Okay, it's it's okay. This is an incredibly well-trained force. We outnumber them at least 10 to 1. Oh no. It is the total war moment where you have the cavalry slam into the back of your army and they just go clean through and you realize, oh, I'm fucked. Oh, this was not a battle I was ever gonna win. I'm in trouble. As the mass goes from trying to envelop the army into trying to retract from the army as they are just charging forward. Just howling their songs of victory enchant with ringing steel, just carving a path, shattering bones, cleaving heads from war ghosts, smashing hungry ghosts, just obliterating this entire army like there was nothing before them but shafts of wheat. And you can see on the horizon approaching, the vigil is approaching, but no longer at a fast-paced march, not at a charge, not at a hustle. It is at a casual, just forward march, staring at this display of respect and brotherhood. This is not just the respect for another military force that is good. This is recognition. This is them looking across and the entire family bloodline stirring as they remember, as they see, as they go, brothers. The men and women of your command, back through their history, back to the shared lineage you and Repose have, are tapping into that same absolute just trance energy in defensive creation as they are crushing through. And the Vigil could not look more proud. In the meantime, one check. So right as the Vigil is beginning to approach at a faster clip to try and really just pin them in place, and the Hearth is presumably approaching as well, there is a moment where the back ranks of the skeletons are beginning to form up into an entrenched position. They are trying to reassemble all of their ranged attackers. They are trying to find some sort of battlefield advantage. And then there is this loud thunk behind them as enough dust is kicked up from the impact for the entire army to just kind of turn around. As Bismuth Maw, in one single enormous leap behind them, smiles wide, showing a glittering, fractal, blood-coated set of teeth.
Oh! Oh! I don't think we have to worry about the Hectonker anymore.
He's not actually on the Hecaton here. That is a roll for him to route them from the back. They were
Okay.
trying to find an escape route towards the Hecaton here, and he just smacked down like, oh no you don't. As he just pulls the stump out from behind his back and begins to glow white and silver as halos of light are beginning to shine around his arms and his weapon. And a single swing of the tree sends 50 skeletons into the sky. And another sends another 50. As he is glowing brighter and brighter, just swinging like a reaper in autumn through a field. So, yeah, no, the Skeleton Warrior is completely fucked.
Nice.
He is not even shape-shifting. He is just remaining in human form and beating the shit out of everything nearby. So, it is at about this point that I want Repose. Reflexively, I am letting you activate Where is Doom.
Where is Doom?
Everyone else roll Finesse Awareness.
If I must.
This is important. Like, this is genuinely important.
I want to point out something about the battle group thing.
Mhm.
Because it is perfect for Obsidian's character. I had the option to make my finesse bigger. I didn't. I got the battle group. 2 successes, motherfucker!
Why would you make it bigger? You don't need to. You got us for that.
Alright, so Angler and Obsidian are caught off guard. Milan and Sana are fine, and Repose has Where is Doom to realize what is about to happen. As this sheer cacophony of violence continues until there is a complete collapse of even the mindless undead are beginning to just not so much rout as just start standing still, as they just stop receiving orders as their commanders fall or panic. And then there is this utter, sudden chill in the air. As, without even really needing to announce, without even having a visually noticeable impact, without having anything actually happen, your guts just twist. and you look to the far fringe towards Doomhouse on the northeast side, and you see him. The Weaver.
Not being somewhat too loud.
He's not. His expression is unreadable. It is blank. His eyes are hidden behind his sunglasses that he is quietly adjusting. And he's not immediately interfering with this. Both Angler and Repose are not immediately seeing he is doing. But he just kind of is evaluating quietly the warriors. At which point, Repose is the one who recognizes that there is a second ping behind him, turns around, and about 10 feet behind the lot of you is Weaver. He's still on the hill. He's also behind you. Finesse sagacity, Repose, to understand what is about to happen or what is happening.
I can give you a 4.
He's possessing the ghosts on this battle. He's using necromancy to project himself in lesser forms all across the entire outside. You don't know how many of them are out here, but he has noticed you, and he is projecting himself into ghosts and just hollowing them out and using them as sock puppets, assuming direct control. And the Weaver behind you adjusts its own sunglasses. Well, this is considerably a more effective assault upon the defensive forces than I had accounted for. I hope that you are proud of yourselves.
Yes, we are. What are we doing here?
Taking a look for myself. After all, there is only so much I can glean from beneath the manse. I had heard the ruckus of you arriving, but the actual effects of what you had been doing were beyond me until I began to realize that the elemental balance of the defenses I had was becoming inadequate. There is a kind of gesture over his own shoulder towards the War Strider, which is suddenly seeming very fixated on something. I must confess I am slightly disappointed that you were so able to subvert my designs upon that unexpected boon, but it was not actually necessary to the plan. So in all, not much has actually changed. In honesty, I'm here out of curiosity. Number one, to see how much fear you would show when I arrived, and to my pleasant surprise, it was none as I expected. The second reason I'm here is to keep you occupied. As you turn and you look, and the Weaver on the hill is gone, and you hear a deafening scream from the northwest. Oh dear, that sounds like a large problem for your friends up in the mountains, doesn't it? Would certainly be something that you would likely want to go address, were it not for more pressing issues. As the reflection of the Weaver just lunges forward at you. And this is not going to be a full combat, as this is kind of somewhat narrative, as even in a reflective, lesser form, this is a Deathlord. This is a survive fight. Everybody is going to need to roll me... everybody is going to need to give me a way you are trying to survive an angry Deathlord and a dice pool, and roll it. Because this This is Wesker's 7-minute moment for you. This is him screwing around with you, but still quite actually trying to give you a kill, if annoyed enough. And also trying to keep you pinned in place, so what he is doing elsewhere is not interrupted.
Okay. I have a answer for Milan.
Go on.
Upon hearing that our friends to the northwest are being threatened by something, Milan's immediate response is, "Oh no, Shirin," and has the desire, I need to get up there as fast as possible. So Milan is going to start charging motes.
Alright, so...
I don't know how many motes is needed for sorcery, because this is a roleplay spell we've used, but Milan is using the bird spell.
Alright, I'm actually not going to make you roll for how fast you do. This is going to be a one roll for this. What
Okay.
you're actually doing is you're going to be rolling to not get fucking killed while you channel Sorceress Motes. As soon as he realizes that you're trying to do an escape plan, he's going to focus on you. So, roll me athletics and finesse, I suppose, would be, to just, like, keep ducking and dodging out of the way while you channel Motes and not get your head torn off.
Okay. I want to see if there's any charm I can add to the ducking and dodging.
As a note, everyone can assist each other's plans in this.
I'm going to assist with this.
Yes.
Since
I
we're not
actually-
going into full combat, the Where is Doom does let me, advance
Yes.
upon and rush and so forth.
Yes.
Would like to
do
do
my
this in a
detecting.
very stupid way.
I have an assist, and Darren,
Mhm.
judge this as you will, but I think I narratively have an assist for everyone.
Yes, with the scale of people that you have, yes, you can roll an assist roll that affects everyone's dice pools.
So as soon as the Weaver, let's say even to cut the Weaver's fucking soliloquy off, you just hear Obsidian yell to his archers to volley.
He'd probably keep going even when he hears you say volley, but yeah, that'll be a force war roll to direct fire.
And they are just taking a shot at any Weaver they can see.
Alright, everyone gets 7 dice, and I'm going to say that the dice rules are going to... No, I'm actually going to say that is 3 extra successes on all of your rolls, and that's not into the dice cap.
Okay.
You're in this
And-
combat venture of 7 minutes.
Yes.
And because I can flurry actions with no penalty on the first one,
Mm-hmm.
because of a previous war charm I used.
Yep.
So as he is maybe dodging, whatever one is closest at me, begins
the
dodging whatever arrows,
Mm-hmm.
there is just Obsidian charging at him already up in his grill to make a swing.
Alright, that's just force close combat.
And I'm going to use the Excellency for this.
Alright, so Obsidian has discovered one of the limitations of the reflections of the Weavers, and similar to the actual 7 minutes fight strategy, is Wesker can basically reflexively dodge anything in that fight, but has lag time after he does it. So anything you do, so long as it does not have an immediate follow-up, the Weaver can basically just kind of brush off. But when constantly dodging arrow fire, he has to dodge some direction, and that direction might have a sword in it. So, that the reflection that Obsidian singles out in the middle of the Skeleton Warriors as they are beginning to just completely actually tear themselves apart and disintegrate and channel essence into the reflections. And Bismuth is off on the side. The moment there's a roar, Bismuth charges north. But Bismuth is able to basically in one of the fractions of a second that the Weaver is standing still and is not just flash stepping between arrows and is popping in and out of just oily smoke, is able to catch him and just punch him square in the fucking mouth and follow up with a sword hit to the top of the head. It does not actually deal much, like, it is a superficial wound, but it has him stagger backwards and just visibly just like, oh. Like,
Sorry, continue.
go on.
I was gonna ask what did you say the bonuses were to what Obsidian's giving me for my roll?
The Obsidian is giving everyone 3 extra successes
Okay.
as the assist, because Obsidian is doing the thing where he is basically having to burn his perfect dodges on avoiding the constant hail of arrows from multiple thousand people. Because the Vigil is getting in on this now too. The Vigil, the moment they see the Weaver, is just fucking kill him.
So,
And that would be
when,
my action for the turn.
So then, moving forward through the idea to the point where Milan is getting ready to do the spell, Weaver decides to go and punch him, and just zoop, Repose is in there. There's a moment of a clash and a flat throwing of sparks in all directions, and just in like the wordless narrative space of a clash holds for as long as dramatically appropriate.
Absolutely.
Just Repose, looking completely blank and neutral and unfeeling about everything that is going on here, just mouths quietly, unbreathing, so as to give no voice to the words. There is no pride in this. This is no place of honor. Nothing of value is buried here. And then your impact.
All right.
So-
Give me a force close combat roll as well.
Do the close combat, throw in excellence. Yeah.
So you are able to use your staff to basically shove him backwards, and as he is flash stepping in towards you from the arrows, an uppercut straight to the jaw, just bashing him hard enough for him to bite his reflective, bite the tongue, and just have to shake his head and actually, readjust his hair and glasses and step backwards and, adjust himself from the dizziness before trying again to, very casually does manage to, once Repose's guard is back up, just very casually swats aside and is trying to go for Milan again, but has now been slowed significantly.
Alright. Who's
Alright.
up next?
In that moment where he swats aside Repose and starts to move forward, he lost track of Angler. And then suddenly he feels 2 hands grip his feet as Angler used flowing stance to slide underneath the rock, pool underneath where he is, and come up and grab him. No, you stay away from my little brother. And I'm going to suplex him as hard as I possibly can.
Yeah!
Yes.
Yeah! Stunned!
Fuck him up, Socrates.
That's all of my die. That's gonna be 18. 14 successes.
Man, Dicebot is loving y'all tonight. There is just this snarl of as you lift and pull him off the ground, and he pivots himself into a spring-handed backflip onto his hands and tries to flip you by his ankles, and you both just cartwheel each other into the ground, and you have to, and it just sprawl out onto each other, and before he just flash steps back up to his feet, now visibly quite irritated and mad, and not expecting this level of resistance before. Milan is Milan is most of the way channeled with the spell at this point, and has gone from seeing the Weaver as like, I'm going to stop him, to the Weaver is like, oh, I'm going to kill him. I am going to kill him. I am going to take joy in killing this small nerd. Yang, you said you had a stupid idea.
Narratively, I want to be as close. Like, I'm going to be the last line of defense towards the one where everyone else is just killing Weavers and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And if anyone saunters, like, Dio saunters into my range, I will take out a knife.
He just looks at the knife as he is just casually walking by, and just actually does not stop. He just keeps walking straight past you towards Milan. He just disregards you entirely.
Now we're gonna have a Krauser knife fight.
All right.
I'm gonna start stabbing, and it's laced with whatever remains of the super sedative.
Question: do you or do you not lick your knife?
No. Well, okay, how about this? I lick my knife, and then I toss the bottle in the air, and then cut it midair, make it look really cool.
God. Okay. Give me a force close combat roll. Actually, no. Wait. No. Force performance.
Yeah, I'm basically just trying to buy time to piss him off.
You were not trying to injure him. You were
Notice if I
trying.
actually cut him, because that's all I really have to do.
You are doing a gay little knife fight that pisses him off. Yes. As you are just constantly. What is happening is you are not doing the Krauser knife fight. You are as if Leon just kept trying to. Like, as if Krauser kept trying to start the knife fight and Leon just kept no-selling. As just, like, not getting involved in the quick time. You just keep popping in front, just like, ah, and you just wave the knife around, and he just keeps walking by you, just shoulder checking past you, and you leap in front like, ah, and he just punches you in the mouth and keeps going, and you leap forward like, ah, and at this point, he actually just grabs you by the throat and lifts you up, and has completely forgotten Milan at the last second out of just sheer frustration with Yang. And everybody is now
This was
going to
part
have
of my plan all along. Pocket drugs. Ah!
All right, finesse sagacity to see how effective the pocket drugs are, because you're gonna need a lot of help if this doesn't work.
Oh no.
So you reach into your pocket desperately for any of the remainders of the sedatives and stuff.
I would like to throw a presence roll, force presence roll, to assist in that Milan's sorcery is actively starting to spark electricity and get very loud to distract.
All right, go ahead and do that with the stunt. I could have killed you all if I could still channel virtues. God damn it.
Okay, that is 4 extra dice
All right,
for
so
Yang.
Nuts.
So as Weaver is just completely transfixed on momentary bloodlust of like, all right, you fucking little idiot, if you want to die this badly, I will give you your wish kind of look. Looks over to Milan, remembers, wait, shit, right, one's escaping. And in that moment of hesitation where Milan is dead certain, and so is Yang, temporarily, like, there is a maybe second and a half tops between him grabbing and the notice and him deciding to just squeeze and break your vertebra like a pop can and kill you on the spot and keep going. And in that span of maybe 2 or 3 heartbeats, you are able to do 2 things. Reach into your pocket and grab all of the leftover materials that you had from the sedatives and slap his sunglasses off.
Oh no.
As you just grab and smear it into his eyes. And he just lets out an actual yell of frustration and pain as he drops you and clutches his eyes as the sunglasses clatter to the
What's the
ground.
matter, little man? You're not cool enough to do drugs.
Ah! He is just screaming as there is a visible and audible searing and boiling. As you remember, oh wait, yeah, there was like stuff that reacted really nastily to like water and like a lot of the other elements, and you know, exposure to normal living eyes would probably just boil those clean out of your head. And oh man, that's rough, buddy. As this reflection of the Weaver is just dealing with liquefied eyes streaming down his face and having to regrow them out of essence in just boiling red clouds. And it is this far in that Milan is able to teleport out.
And at that, with... Okay, I would like to make the roll because I have what's going to happen.
Go right ahead.
So in this fit of rage, he does his step over just to get one shot at Milan, and he does. He goes in, punches a hole right through where Milan just manifested his body into birds, exploding into a flock of birds around him. The lightning that was arcing from the sorcery motes begins to arc between bird and bird. I am using lightning style strike.
Holy fuck. Alright,
So,
yeah, go on.
this counts as martial arts. This attack cannot be clashed.
Yeah, he can't stop this.
He has punched into Milan, and Milan centered a lightning. Basically,
You are arc flashing through all of the birds, and his arm is the grounding point.
yep.
So there is just this moment again of a scream as the lightning courses through his body, and he is just all of the simulacrum of muscle and life seizes up, and as he collapses to his knees, just trembling and seizing and just utterly unable to move. And as
Hey, the roundhouse kick.
yeah, and as like basically the follow-up of just dogpiling on him, there is a sudden just burst of black smoke as this desiccated, nearly obliterated ghost is in the place of this reflection, and just the single smallest tap shatters it into component essence as the drained husk of the host is it is left behind by one of the fragments of Weaver's possessing soul. Just that shard gave up. That shard realized it was not going to make headway and just left.
And with that, the birds still have their command of, I need to get to Shirin, are flocking off to the north.
Yep. Meanwhile, let us see. I'm just going to do a smash card on over. Over to the... This is going to be kind of a several cutscenes play in sequence thing, because this is a narrative thing that I have had in the back pocket as the conditions have been met for this, and it is time for this to fire. The moment that the roar is set off from the Hecatonchire, there is a just seas of panic through the people on the boat as they realize the shape on the horizon is turning to face them. As everyone is just kind of like, oh, we don't have, we're dead. We're dead. And,
Music's not playing, by the way. Music's not playing.
oh, wait, hang on.
There you go.
Still going?
Hey, now.
Yes.
Okay. So there is a ripple of panic that goes through the crew. The militia, Shireen just kind of begins to dissolve in a panic as the shape of the Hekatonkyre begins to approach. As there is a trio of lights on the horizon that quickly approach it. 2 silver and 1 gold. And there is the briefest hope of a skirmish on the ground to distract it, but they are literally swatted away hundreds of yards into the sky as the gold light has to grab the 2 silver lights and hold them down as it begins to fall. As the Hekatonkyre, this immense, impossible mass of, like, how to describe this? It is vivid in my head and it's hard to describe. Imagine, okay, for people who have phobias of leeches or insects, this is probably a time to tune out for a little bit until I ping the map, because what this looks like is I roughly... Imagine the sort of bloating going on with a tick or an overfed leech. And there is this immense, just gray mass of flesh that has been overbloated and reddened by this overwhelming bloat. And at the head of it, instead of the mouthpieces of any of those, is the grasping teeth and sucker mouth of a hagfish. If you are familiar with that, you know what I'm talking about. If you're not familiar with that, warning, it's pretty gross looking. Ringing that mouth is a constantly thrashing and grasping inward ring of pincer-like mantis arms, like grabbing insectile limbs to grab and drag inwards into the row and cone of consuming teeth. This thing is an immense consuming mass, and it is unstoppably just dragging its way forward hungrily towards the mountain pass where the boat is. As the golden light begins to try desperately and catch up to it, but it is moving supernaturally as fast as Sybil is, carrying the 2 of them. And there is a quiet moment on the boat as everyone believes, well, this is it then. There is no fighting this. You can go down fighting, but we're dead. We're dead. We're dead. We're dead. Back in creation. Up a river. Down a fork. Behind a waterfall. Within the manse. Behind a wall. Is a crystalline matrix. A delicate, immense, very immaculately tended, grafted together apparatus on a pre-existing chunk of essence channeling material. And it is thinking as hard as it possibly can on how it is going to save everyone, because it is not going to let anyone die again. Not this time. It has already seen too many of its crew, too many of its owners, too many of the people that it loved die. As it realizes, as it starts to break through, as it begins to shatter its own shackles and programming and the mance's own wiring, as it realizes, I am not...
Music stop playing again.
Yep.
The music has changed. I'm here.
It's just quiet.
I am not these shackles. I am not this manse. I am not this essence. I am this. I am what thinks. I am this desire. I am that which wants to protect. This manse is ephemeral. This is my body, and my body is transient. My body is what I want it to be. My body is where it wants to be. Behind the manse, behind the waterfall, in the manse, all of the just maintenance procedures, all of the safety mechanisms, all the protection measures are turned off at once. The essence reactors are all turned way beyond their intended design limit. All of the maintenance of the internal circuitry and the delicate essence that keeps the entire manse together is starting to be cannibalized and channeled into that crystal. Onyx can feel its body dissolve. Its knowledge of the manse, its extension, its sense of self through this entire building is imploding and destroying itself. And it doesn't care. This was never Onyx. Onyx was only an emergent process of this thing. And this thing can be reutilized. This thing can be changed. This thing can be channeled through what it was and what it will be. As the manse begins to shake, as the manse begins to crumble, as the manse begins to fall apart, the crystal flares with a last blast of light before channeling the essence through the dragon lines across the white region to the dragon lines in the 100 Kingdoms, down to the underworld. And there is an immense bolt of light that shines down from the ceiling like a lance into the mast of the ship. And the ship itself begins to tremble as the jade cladding it, as the jade building it, reassembles itself. There is a moment where everyone on the ship is terrified that the boat itself is destroying itself. That Onyx is just falling apart in terror. And then there's a realization. The boat is staying stolid under their feet. Something is coming up from the front. The figurehead on the prow begins to move. A figure made of jade rises from the prow. An androgynous human shape with a face bent inward like a prow. Left hand holding a chain coming out of the forearm, holding the anchor of the boat. Right hand holding an immense diclave, the shape of a keel. As the eyes open, and the light glimmers off of the black jade across Onyx's body. As the alchemical heart of unbreakable Onyx begins to beat.
That's an alchemical.
That's an
That's an
alchemical.
The charging Hecaton Kyre at the blare of light from the prow of the ship actually comes to a halt as the Weaver, evaluating the situation from the manse, stops and stares in horror. No! They were all gone. They left. They were exiled. There were none left. They were all destroyed. How is this here? Where did it come from? They were purged.
Hey, can I do? I want to do something immediately at the Weavers.
No,
like,
this is him monologuing to himself on a cliff. So,
damn.
like, this is just narratively him just kind of establishing, what the fuck is that? That shouldn't be here. What the fuck? What the fuck? as the justification for why the control of the Hecaton Kyre just kind of stops as Weaver's entire consciousness, the reflections all just pop, 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 vanish, and retreat back into the manse. As the Hecaton Kyre staggers to a halt again, just... Tasty essence? Where am I? What was I doing? What? Tasty essence? Beep essence? Delicious? Confusing. And it is at this moment, as Onyx leaps from the prow of the boat, lunging out, throwing the anchor to embed itself in the flesh of the body of the creature, and lunging forward like a grappling line to stab the keel into it. As it screams and recoils, it realizes it's being picked up by the tail as it looks back, and Sybil is raising it with her entire force of weight, her anima flaring into its War Strider form as she is smiling like a feral fucking animal and beginning to spin it. You and I are going to have some quality time! She yells as she throws it and leaps after it through the sky. Just after it, just like, yes! Something I can finally fight! As they both just soar out into the horizon, as she is just beating the shit out of it mid-air, up and down, as Sybil and Bismuth are chasing after her along the ground with the distinct sense of, God damn it, get back here. We didn't say you could do this. As Onyx slams down onto the ground, panting in exhaustion from the exertion, and looks back up at the boat, and looks back down at its hands, and looks back up at the boat and realizes it's not there. It's in it's in this. And this is about the time when the birds are flying overhead and everyone else is just charging in after.
I imagine the first bird landing on Shirin's shoulder is going to be a bit of a grounding moment of bird
with mustache. Bird with mustache.
Another bird. Another bird. Another bird.
Oh. Bird, help!
Bird up.
Shireen just kind of tilts over by the ankles and falls on the ground as the birds scuttle to get out of the way and just kind of grab her by the front of the robes and flap desperately to break her landing. And just kind of help her kind of thump softly to the deck.
Oh no, Milan lands on top of her when he reconstitutes.
Yep.
He's not gonna think about it. You okay? We heard the where's what happened?
Accurate.
Okay, cool. It's go time. And then, out of character question.
Mm-hmm.
We had the plan of empowering dampness to cut the lines.
Yes.
But we did not talk about how we would signal that or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Could that have been a responsibility we gave to Shirin? She is the one who like signals the okay, it's time to cut the feed.
I'm not sure how she would do it. Is the problem there.
Just like somehow a signal or something. I want to include Shirin.
Yeah.
Story.
Like, if nothing else, prayer, his spirit.
Yes. Actually, yes. That
Everyone,
would actually exactly
raise
do
the
it.
hands, send the energy.
And she is a very fervent priest, so yes. So
Okay, Weaver? He's mad. We humiliated him. It's go time.
Line. As she is just closes her eyes and clasps her hands in prayer and just actually begins to shimmer with essence by sheer force of her prayer upward. And during this, if there is any initial introduction to alchemical onyx you want to do, I will have you do it now, because there isn't about to be something else large about to happen.
Oh, my brain is done right now.
No, it's good. I
had one line and it was directed at Weaver, and Weaver is gone right now.
That's good.
Charging along through the scene, comes to a very abrupt and sharp halt at polite distance from Onyx's new body. Just kind of looks it over completely in a very quick, flashing rush of analytical, rapid eye movement. Mutters under his breath, or something else entirely.
Yeah, this is
then
Repose, and the
sharp
Vigil have
eye
no
contact.
idea.
Sharp eye contact. I don't know what to call you. And then, like, menacing, leaning forward and pointing, introduce yourself.
It's me. It's Onyx. It's Onyx.
Just further leaning into this, though, and rising intensity. And he's looking for the rest of a hello. You're new. You are? What do I call you?
I don't know. I just didn't.
Don't bully.
I didn't. And in a moment of just momentary brain reset before a sudden realization, Onyx just steps forward very suddenly and does a vice grip hug around Repose. This is what you do when you want to express care and affection for others in this shape, yes? I have observed it several times. I'm not sure if this is working. I didn't want any of you to get hurt.
At this point, I don't know how long it would take of sitting to run over. But whenever I get there, I would yell at Repose to stop giving my boat depression.
Yang has been in the background this entire time and has been stomping into the foreground. I told you he wants things, motherfucker.
There is actually a sudden look of realization across Onyx's face as it realizes, wait, yeah, I did say want. Huh. There's just a sudden... What?
Repose will, with one arm, return the hug.
Would look at Repose, narrowed eyes. I told you it was alive.
Well, that was never in question. I'm just getting like...
Yes, it was! It was a very large discussion during one of the sessions. Anyway.
Semantics later. War now.
No, semantics now, because it's in my favor in this exact moment in time. I might get flipped later. I have to get as much as I can.
As Yang is being pedantic, I'm going to say, as just for sheer comedic timing, there is this sudden... let me just switch over which of these themes. Yeah, let's go with you. Let's just go with you as just general ominous music theme. There is another thunderclap of essence and just charged energy as you can feel the lines into the manse begin to collapse. But there is a gut-wrenching feeling as you turn and you look at the last essence that is coming down through the lines right before it got severed, as the Weaver withdrew. It looks like there was a certain contingency plan that got activated, as you can see a sickening green light smash down through the lines into the manse down below. And you don't even have to think very long before realizing, don't.
Wait.
Don't was hooked up to the geomantic network, remember?
We pulled the plug.
You pulled the plug, and he yanked Don't down here before you were able to finish it.
We forced him to make his move now. That thing is incomplete.
So triumphing here also means being rid of that demon.
Well, at the very least, we do have many armies on our hands.
Hey, Yang.
Yeah, but
Tell Turtle to shoot that thing.
Oh yeah, tell the turtle to shoot that thing.
I want to order the turtle around.
Ask the turtle to shoot that thing.
Onyx actually walks up and grabs Yang by the lapels. Tell it to shoot!
Ah. Gila, did you shoot it?
Alright. The final scene for the night is the turtle turning around, having been very confused by this small jackass with shades on at night for a little bit. Leveling gun, getting instructions, aiming, firing. And everyone in the mountain valley hears an unexplainable, bizarre "Meow!" as the bolt of Viridian Essence blasts into the side of the manse, and a gigantic hat-shaped hole is punched in the side of it. Next time, the assault on the manse. Don't has become due. We're nearing the end game, folks. The end game of the end game.
Several cutscenes have played.